Okay, so why don't we begin, everybody? Welcome to the call. My name is Mark Schaefer. I'm the project manager with iNEMI, and today is our call for participation for the development of an imaging AOI and AI ecosystem. And we have Wayne Zhang from IBM, who's the project leader, as our speaker today. And this call and the mirroring call that we'll have this evening is to introduce the project to everybody and to start the sign-up period for folks that would like to join the project. I would like to let everybody know that you are on mute. If you do have any questions, please type them into the chat window and I will collect those and ask them and or unmute people if the lines are not too noisy at the end of the presentation. We are recording this, and after the call is over, we will send out a notice with the recording and a copy of the slides for those that are interested, for everybody that signed up. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Wayne. So just tell me when to flip slides, Wayne, and we'll move on.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mark, for the help. Yeah. So good morning, good evening, everyone. This is Wayne from IBM, and thanks for your time to join this call for participation call. Right. So, the project here, as you can see, is the development of an imaging AOI and AI ecosystem. So the keyword is ecosystem, right? So next slide, Mark, please. Yeah, Mark, next slide, please.
It switched on my screen. Yeah. Are you guys not seeing it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It comes up now. Yeah. So some highlights for these projects, right? As you can see, the problem statement. What is the challenge encountering in the industry? So you can see in the current industry practice, right? For every EMS company, right? You know the names, and they actually own the AOI image data in their private and isolated manner, right? So for example, in their server IT room or their isolated system. So there's also certain data governance policy and confidentiality consideration involved in each of those EMS company, right? So they need to take care of their own policy, and they need to consider the requirement from their customer, things like that, right? So there's a lot to consider for this topic. And however, from the AI training perspective, right, if you are familiar with the AI data science field, so you know that the fact that we have insufficient image data, right? This fact would result in an inaccurate AI model for the so-called image classification purpose for this application scenario. So, and also, as we know, if you ask your quality team to collect the image data from the production, right? Typically, this data collection cycle is very time consuming, typically, right? So there will be time to for the data acquisition, for the data identification and labeling, things like that, right? So you need a lot of back and forth communication, ask the engineering team, ask the experts to help on this effort. So, and also from industrial-wide perspective, there's no collaboration model available now on how to share the image data, right? Assuming we have 3 or 5 EMS players, right? So how can we make sure they are willing to share this data, and with the balancing the benefit and the risk mitigation, right? So the benefit is that if they have the more data, they can actually get the AI model more accurate. But the risk is that they have a lot of consideration, right? They might not willing to share those data to others. So in this project, we are going to try to discuss and review whether we can create this collaboration model, right, for this manner. Yeah. So this is the problem we are going to encounter and break through. And the proposal from this project, from our initial review with the team earlier. So we want to establish an ecosystem, right? The keyword is ecosystem among these EMS industry, different companies, right, to collect and share their own image data, as I mentioned before, right? To collect and share the image data in a commonly acceptable protocol, right? So this need to be reviewed with quite a lot of communication with different EMS company. We need to understand what's their need, what's their expectation, and what's the limitation over there, right? So we need to make sure we understand the reality and to make this collaboration model workable. And individual company will, from the collaboration model, right? We can imagine that the individual company, they will contribute their image data set to a so-called like a server or what we call a central data repository, where those data will be consolidated into different category types, right? For example, missing or misalignment or short or whatever you name it, right? So we will consider those data into different types to input to the AI training cycle. And again, if you are familiar with the AI model training, yeah, this is a typical a normal process, right? You have the data, you input the training framework, and the framework will give you a training model after certain training iteration or cycle, right? So by this way, the scale of the image data could be significantly increased comparing to the previous mentioned isolated manner, right, by individual player. So we are actually consolidating all the data from multiple players. So we have a more we will amplify those data volume in this way, right? So with this consolidated data sets, right, in this so-called repository center or server, one of the usage is that we can use this data to further train into different AI model, right, for future service requests from member company, right? So this is one of the proposed option, right? How we use the data, right? It can be pumped into the training cycle of different AI models. So each member company can just request a service from this repository, so they can get the results from this different AI model as well. And also as a result, right? The member company can also request their data set, right? So this data set might be from their own side or might be from the other player under the governance of this collaboration model, right? So they can request that either a data set from this repository or for their own AI model training purpose. For example, previously they might have 1,000 sets of data, for example, right? So with the help of this repository, they might get a bigger data number, like for example, 10,000 or even 50,000 sets of image data, right? So that will be really help a lot on the training of the AI model, right? So and also the other option is that they can ask for a classification service from the data AI repository server via some API request, right? So there are different I would call this service as a deliverable from these projects, and we can talk more after if you have a chance to participate in this project, right? We'll check all those details, yeah, with these approaches. And with this shared data and AI classification service, right, the accuracy of the AI model could be expected to be improved significantly. And as a result, the AOI process performance, I'm comparing to our traditional AOI process, right? This performance could be further improved with this new type of AI model. And if you are familiar with the AI technique has been what we call a disruptive technology, right, in the world to break through some of the existing boundary for some existing technology that we use for a long time. So AOI is one of that example. I think we can use the AI technique to further, just break through the technical limitation and get a better performance. For example, the false call rate, the escape rate, or whatever, right? So we can have a try, at least from this project, to see how much we can achieve by getting more data from different players. So, and the last bullet here is just from some reference for you, that to give you an idea how is the more data change the data science field in other area. For example, there are some we call, for example, if you click the link, right, so you see something like ImageLab that they collect quite a lot of image for different objects like animals, people, car, vehicle, plants, or whatever, right? So that is the some scenario that can prove and show that how the AI is actually changing the world, right, in different technology segments. So I hope this link will be helpful for you, and just give you a glance for what we are going to do, right, using this more data. Okay, Mark, next slide, please. Yeah, yeah. So thanks for opening. If you scroll down quickly, just quickly, right? Mark. Yeah. This is just some different examples, right? So this slide, yeah, is for the planning team and risks and opportunity. Mark, do you want to talk about this slide from your side?
Sure, I can. These were the folks and companies that were participating in the development of the SOW, which is the document that you all will be able to review online and then have the project statement if you wish to join us. Just to show you, we had some really great participation already from IBM, Jabil, Micronic, Bessie, Symmetrics, Vitrox, and Co-Young, and most of these folks are planning on joining the team, and others I think have already expressed interest. So we're looking to build the team. We need to get to a critical mass of folks so that we have enough not only participants but enough different perspectives as we build this project and this database and the framework for this ecosystem, as Wayne has called it, or framework that we're going to need. And in terms of some of the risks and opportunities here, I mean, I think Wayne has definitely spelled out a lot of the opportunities already. But the risks that we're going to be addressing as the team, I think a lot of it comes down to how are companies going to be able to share this data in a way that they feel comfortable sharing the data is really where it's is the main issue that's going to come out, and that this team is going to be having to face head on and come up with some solutions for that from both business perspective, from a confidentiality perspective, and things like that. So I think that's kind of one of the key risks that the team is going to have to face. That's what I have.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, we can jump to next slide then. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a lag today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on.
It's okay. Yeah, so this is just a recap of what I just mentioned in the first slide, and what is interesting is the chart here, right? You can see the figure 1, and the x-axis is the number of photos or image data, right? You can see the more we have on with those image data, the higher accuracy the AI model can achieve, right? So this is just a real example that we can easily get this understanding and rule from the data science world. It applies to all the scenario, I would say, right? So more data, more accurate we can get. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, Mark, next slide, please.
You don't see the project overview slide yet?
Yeah, I'm still in the chart.
Okay.
The previous.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let me.
Yeah, it comes up now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a serious delay today. I apologize.
Yeah, I think the delay is to Wayne because we're seeing them pretty quickly, just so you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, maybe my network is slow. Anyway, so this is the project overview, right? So again, as you can see the red here, this project we focus on evaluating and establishing an ecosystem collaboration model, right? So the keyword is ecosystem and the model, and among the manufacturing industry to collect and share more image data from the member companies in a commonly acceptable protocol, right? So there really a lot of work and a discussion need to be housed and organized The initial focus of this project will be on the EMS, as we start from the EMS industry, right? If we get a success, then I think iNEMI will absolutely, move forward to other areas as well. And the project plans is in like this, right? So we will first investigate the existing image data status in the EMS companies. So we believe there will be quite a lot of different manner to collect data, manage the data, and store the data, things like that. And we want to identify the major challenges and willingness for sharing the image data from different players, right? So maybe we will form a certain types of survey or questionnaire, right? So we have some communication back and forth to complete this task. And we will also establish an acceptable architectural framework and business model for the ecosystem for sharing the image data among the ecosystem members, right? So I believe you might more or less have the concept of the ecosystem, right? So if we're trying to draft the architecture or the framework for this ecosystem in terms of the business flow, in terms of the IT, structure, and in terms of the business flow. So there will be a lot of consideration here, and what is the protocol that we will protect the image from different members, and how we are going to consolidate that, right? So this will be all reflected into this framework, and again, we might need quite a lot of different experts in the team to help finalize and define the details. So this would be one of our key challenge and work in this project. The next is to establish a common protocol for sharing the image data in the ecosystem collaboration model, and of course this will be one of the elements, as Mark mentioned, right? We want to make you feel comfortable because you have shared the data, and you get benefit from there. So what is the best manner to, and protocol to move this item forward? So we will have a lot of discussion as well. And the next is to establish a central image data repository or server and services accordingly. And this includes, this is just the plan and proposal. So the individual company could contribute their image data set to this central repository, where the data would be consolidated into different categories, as I just mentioned, right, to train the AI model. By this way, the scale of the image data could be significantly increased. And secondly, with this consolidated, the data could be further trained into different AI model for the future service request from the member company, right? And the third is that I think similar, I mentioned this before, the member company can also request their data sets as they need, right, from the repository data, so they can achieve those data and train their AI model accordingly, or they can just directly ask for the classification request from this server repository to get the classification results from some, if you're familiar with the programming, the API request, right? So for example, the RESTful API. And also from this project, we will generate the report of the recommendation for this ecosystem framework, the business model, and the data repository and services in details, right? So this is our plan and overall for the project. Mark, next slide, please. Yeah. So again, from a time frame perspective, right? So this project is planned to be again 2 phases. And I think the SOW that Mark has get approved from the TC is for phase 1, but for the overall plan, we are actually planning quite a long timing. I would say around 24 months, 2 years, right, for completion. And the phase 1 includes the investigation and communication, establishing the ecosystem collaboration model, including the ownership of data, things like that. So we will quite a lot of reviewing details for each of the elements. And phase 2 is actually the forming of the ecosystem landscape, right? So we want to form the physical members all together, and with their participation, the data collection and sharing will be also physically, coming from those member companies. So this is the real work, right? Real system. So we want to see that from the phase 2, if possible. Yeah. Next slide, please, Mark. Okay.
It's on the key purposes slide. There you go.
Yes, I can see that. Thank you. So for the key purpose of this project, right? So again, this project aims to establish an industrial-wide level collaboration to construct and share image resources in an appropriate way. Yeah, we'll define it with the team member altogether to develop an AI model, right? And the data sharing mechanism will be discussed in the project team, right? And I know there will be quite a lot of concerns, right, from the companies, what this data sharing mechanism will looks like. And we don't have an answer now, but there might be there has already been some discussion on what it looks like in some, I would say, similar ecosystem in other area, in other industry, right, that we can refer to. So this has been studied before. So we hope that we can move forward with similar experience and the support from the expert. Okay, and with the advantage of this industrial-wide collaboration model, the challenge of insufficient training data could be solved, as I explained before, right? Since more training data would come available from multiple and various member sources of the ecosystem. And again, this project aligns with the known need identified by the iNEMI board assembly tech and the smart manufacturing 2019 roadmap. Right? If you are familiar with the iNEMI roadmap sector, it's defined there, right? It's saying that utilizing AI to further improve the performance of AOI process in terms of accuracy. So that's exactly what this project is going to apply. The output of this project would be a solid fundamental to support the improvement of AI classification solution to the AOI project, which could further improve the accuracy of the AOI defect classification. If you are familiar with the other iNEMI project that I am working with Haley, right, for the AI enhancement for AOI. So I think this project in this core will actually provide quite a lot of benefit and support to that project, yeah, in some manner. Okay, next slide, Mark, please. Okay, so yeah, the table is just tell you just to tell you the scope of in terms of what this project is and what it is not. So the blue box, blue cell is the is, right? So this project is to establish an ecosystem framework for image data sharing among the EMS industry. For again, this for the EMS industry, right? It is not for the industry other than EMS and AOI providers at this moment, right? So that's not our scope. And this project is for the benefit for the AI model training cycle, primarily, I would say, right? Then it is not for the benefit of use or inference of the AI model. I mean, as our focus. So though, as I mentioned before, though the server repository could potentially offer the classification options as a service to the member company, right? And this project is also to establish a protocol for image data sharing among the ecosystem members. And it is not going to expose the confidential IP from the member companies, including their customer information. Of course, right? We need to 100% protect this information from the protocol, right? And this project will establish potential service opportunity after collecting more image data from ecosystem, and it is and also establish the central data repository, and also we will try to work with some legal team, right, to get a legal agreement framework for data sharing collaboration model under this project, right? And again, this project is not a development of a standard, right? As you can see, we are not saying any standard figures or numbers for a certain technical item, and it's not a development of an AI solution, right? So we will left that to the EMS player or the AOI provider and things like that. And again, this is this project is not a blanket template for all cases, right? There will be some special case that is not covered in this project. So we can get more review of this item. Yeah. Next slide, please, Mark. Okay, if you ask what is the benefit to me or to the industry, right? So this project will certainly offers an opportunity to significantly increase the image data volume, as I mentioned, right, with a scale up. Thus increase the AI model accuracy for AI image classification. And if you remember the chart I just mentioned, right, more data, more higher accuracy. This project also provides a reference on how to break through the boundary from different EMS companies by establishing the ecosystem framework and collaboration mode, right? And so from one of our team member that the list may be administering funds to help organizations that are building databases, repositories, and anonymized data. So this will be one of our resources to get some of the funding, right, for some of our future tasks. But we can also talk other options as well. Yeah. Okay, Mark, next, please. Okay. In terms of the outcome or deliverable of this project, right, at the first 12 months, as I just mentioned, we have a communication cycle, which we will apply the survey questionnaire. And based on the questionnaire data and feedback, we will generate the analysis report for that. And based on that, we get an understanding based on the data for what the industry is interesting and what's the limitations over there. So we will provide some recommendation, right, based on the feedback summary of how this ecosystem framework and collaboration model will look like. And we also try to create an image data repository and image classification service, as I gave some example before, right? And we generate some potential business use case, commercially or academically, recommendations based on the outcome and I would say the lesson learned from this project. And phase one, as I mentioned, for the first 12 months is for the investigation and establishing the ecosystem collaboration model. Is more on a planning, right? Planning and data collection and communication phases and purpose. And phase two is for the forming of the physical ecosystem landscape with the member participation and data collect and sharing from the member companies. So that would be the high level outcome and deliverables from this project, as you can expect, right? Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the overall milestone. Okay, as you can see, phase one for 4 quarters and phase two for another 4 quarters, totally 24 months. And as you can see, the phase one, we have some breakdown tasks, right? Phase one, let's go through that quickly. Phase one, we include the 4 steps, right? One is the communication and survey. The second is establish the ecosystem framework, right, based on the survey data, and recommendation about the data sharing protocol and the recommendation of the business model accordingly. And phase two consists 4 elements as well, including the we create the ecosystem members, right? So we ask for participation from the EMS industry, and we collect data from the member physically, right? And then establish the data repository and establish the classification service if possible, right? So this is the high level, task for the 2 phases of this project and the time frame. Next slide, Mark.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I can take it. I can take these 2. Yeah, my turn. Yeah. So I do want to make sure it is clear the project that we're talking about is only the phase 1 part at this point. Phase 2 is just here so you know that really is a 2-phase project. Our our sign up and this call for participation is for phase one. Once we finish phase one and have those results, there'll be a separate sign up and a separate SOW for phase two that will give more detail as to what's going to happen in phase two based on what we discover and create in phase one, just so that folks understand that. In terms of the schedule, we have 2 call for participation webinars, the one this morning, which you all are at, and then we'll have it again this evening. If someone is interested in joining that, or you have colleagues that want to join, please ask them to join us this evening. Right now, I have the initial sign up open for the entire month of September. So through the end of September, we'll be accepting members into the project. Probably will still go beyond that, but our initial sign up, where all you've got to do is fill out the paperwork, which I'll talk about on the next slide. I'm shooting for the end of September to close that, and then as long as we have enough critical mass and participations, then we would start the project somewhere in the middle of October. I say the second week of October or so is the plan, so that we can have a series of meetings and have a good idea of what's going on before we hit the various holidays that we all celebrate in Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving and wherever you may be, all sorts of holidays around the world. That will impact our schedule a little bit. And then, as Wayne has mentioned, this is a 1-year-long project for phase one. The idea is that we would start in October 2022, and then we would end up presenting our findings, I say, by November 2023, to give us in that 12-month-ish kind of time frame. And then lastly, how to join. So there are the details for this project, including the SOW that goes into far more detail than what we've talked through today, as well as the project statement can be found on the project website. I will copy this and put this into the chat. Maybe I can't. I will do that before we end, so it's a little easier to get to. You would need, if you're an iNEMI member, how to join is you would download the project statement and the statement of work so you can read the details, and then you would sign the project statement and return it to iNEMI, send it to me and to Grace. Because this project is under a year in time, and the scope seems appropriate, we also do have this set up as what I would call a quick turn project. And so what this means, non-iNEMI members can join the project for a fee. To do that, you'll need to contact me or Grace that can give you some details of how that process works, as well as to get a copy of the MOU to go along with the project statement that you would have to turn in as a non-member, so that you understand the IP and the other agreements that are part of every iNEMI project. That's what I have for our presentation today. I do have a question here. That's so Wayne, it says, what is the scope of image being shared with the DFM tools available in DFM validation tools? I don't know if you can read that in the chat window.
DFM validation tool, if I understand correctly, I was putting different angle, right? One would be the types. The types of this project might have more coverage. Typically, you can imagine those definition IPC 610, right? Could be covered in this project. Of course, we need to communicate with the member companies what is the most favorable data types they want, right? So maybe you can start from some early trial, but eventually, I believe the types of those defects would be more comparing to the DFM items you just mentioned. And also the other is about the data volume, right? So the data volume we are talking about is I would say at least from over 1,000 sets of data, even 10,000 sets of data is a common number in the AI data science area. So the data volume might be higher comparing to the DFM topic you mentioned about. That's my understanding. I'm not sure whether I answered your question.
I think he said exactly, so I think you were on topic.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's
if you have a
quick
follow-up
question, yeah.
from that, yeah, please, yeah. If you have a follow-up with that, please type that in again. And the other item is, what is the expected effort for a company to participate in both phases of the project? So I can speak about phase one a little bit. Wayne, you obviously can, have experience from the other project team as well. Typically, the project teams meet on either a weekly or a bi-weekly basis, and the project team will determine that for 1 hour. So you'll have a commitment for the calls themselves, and then generally speaking, outside of the calls, you would expect about another hour or two potentially between some of the calls. So each month you might have 8 to 10 hours of things that you're working on if you're being very active within the project. I'd say sort of on the max side, but as we get into phase, these phases, as Wayne mentioned, some of the things we want to do is potentially talk to some legal teams and things. So there may be members that are here technically, and then also working within their organization to maybe bring some legal resources so that we can talk to others that have other perspectives within your companies as well, so that we make sure that as we're building this framework and the recommendations that we cover, really the key things that are of interest both technically and legally. So there might be some additional or different resources that would need to be brought to bear. And then obviously in phase 2, when we're looking to establish, a database with, a database or the central repository as a test or as a full scale thing. I don't know where we'll be. That will require some additional efforts, but I don't know that amount of effort is known yet. Does that sound right, Wayne, or do you have some better ideas to?
Yeah. So Mark, can you jump back to the schedules
Sure.
slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2 phase, right? I think the slide we can help to answer this question. Yeah. So I think the question is about what is the effort that need to be taken to participate this project for the member. So if you look at the task elements, right, 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So you can actually understand the efforts, right? So again, for example, for the item number 1, communicate and survey. So in this one, either you can help us to generate the questionnaire items, the questions itself, right? And also you can help us to provide input or answers to this questionnaire. That's for this one. And for the item number 2, establish the ecosystem framework. You are one of the members. We appreciate your input and thoughts and share with us what is your current limitation and what is your willingness in terms of creating this kind of sharing framework, right? So you are our the critical resources to form this framework. Is your comment and thoughts will be very appreciable. And based on that, I think you work with the project team to just recommend what is the best comfortable data sharing protocol, right? Of course, it's not only you, right? We might have other experts from the ecosystem generation. Maybe we also have some IT experts, some AI experts, things like that. So we'll just mix up this team construction and work with you all together, right? So that is your effort for this item. And item 4, recommend the business model. And again, we need to work with the I would say technical team and the legal team all together, right, to make this model really work. And again, you need to provide your valuable input for the discussion for all of the 4 items here. I think that is the what I can imagine your effort and contribution, right, for the phase 1. And for phase 2, in the phase 2, item number 1, we create the ecosystem member, right? So I think Mark might help on this one. Yeah, the iNEMI team. And item number 2, collect data from member and if possible, right? So we really want to start with maybe 2 or 3 members first, to that they are more willing to have a try, maybe just a small amount of data, right? Not a big deal. So just maybe 50, 100 sets of data, that's sufficient. But just to make sure this model is all under our control and no other risk that you can see from the control view or control one. Well, anyway, right? So and then for item number 3, establish the data repository. This item is more, I would say, on the IT expert side, right? So we need the IT and AI expert to help work together and to see how we can create these resources, right? And also item 4 is to establish those classification service that's more related to the IT and AI area. So yeah, you can imagine based on your domain, right? Yeah, in your industry, you can pick those that is most suitable for you to take your effort and help contribute to us. That's my thought. Yeah, Mark. Hope it's helpful and answer the question.
Sounds like so. Yeah. Mei-Ching said yes. Ermi had a question regarding: do you have any early ideas or premise around the concept of the data ownership for the repository as a whole? That's an easy question, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's an easy and difficult question.
Yep.
Yeah. So ownership of data. Yeah. So I think that really jump to the what we call the legal side as well, right? So it's not an easy way to answer that. But as a initial thought, I think yeah. So Mark, I think we have a white paper from I to C, right?
Yes.
Remember
yes,
the previous
yes,
call we
yes.
them, and maybe Mark, you can share later on. So in that
Sure.
white paper, remember they have a consideration for this one, for the ownership of data, but they have different terms. But I believe is for a similar purpose, right? To define the ownership and how they handle the data into different level of we say transparency, things like that, right? So different level of data, they can just basically wrap the data into a certain we say visualization level, right? So they can protect the ownership of the data in this way. But that is just one of my initial thought. I think this data is quite complex and not easy to answer at this moment. I hope I can have some follow-up just answer to this member here.
Sure.
It's not easy one, Mark.
No, it's not. Yeah, I'm being a little facetious. It's not. I think that's going to be one of the core things that this team is going to have to come up with, Ermi, and that is how do we structure the framework of the relationship in such a way that the data, that companies are comfortable sharing that data, as to who is the ultimate owner of that data, and then letting others use it. And that's going to be really key work for this phase 1 to figure out. Yeah.
Right.
Are there other comments or questions from anyone? Grace, anything on your side?
Nope, all good. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like a very well, obviously a beneficial project for the industry, but one that would I think the success will be in getting good collaboration here.
Okay. And I did put in the meeting chat the link to the project page, and on that project page it does have the SOW, the statement of work, and the project statement, so that you can read in detail what we are planning for phase 1 and a little bit of phase 2, and also the form to sign up as an iNEMI member. And you can certainly reach out to me, Mark S at inemi.org, if you would like additional information or have questions. So one last call for questions before we sign off. And also, Wayne, any last comments from you?
Yeah, so from the question, it sounds like, yeah, this project is attractive, right? So hope we can get more members to join in the future. Yeah.
Absolutely. We are looking forward to getting this project started and getting all of you engaged and helping us figure out the best way to move forward with this.
Yeah, and again, as we define this project, right, we know that there's quite a lot of things are new in I would say to iNEMI as well, right? To everybody. For example, what is the ecosystem is quite new, right? How to build it, we don't know. And also AI, I think it's hard, but from my experience, is not familiar to quite a lot of person as well. So if you join this project, I think at least you can learn something from this new and hard technical elements, right? So we'll see.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So Wayne, thank you for your time today, and everybody else, thank you for joining us. And I hope that you will consider joining this project. I think it has a lot of potential and would be very advantageous to the EMS, certainly at the beginning here at the EMS side, but also even beyond that as hopefully it's established and it grows. So with that, I will let everybody go. Thank you very much for your time, and don't hesitate to reach out to me if you've got questions. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Yep, have a good day.